بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته, and welcome to the Fiqh al Muamalat online course. And today we shall talk about some of the issues pertaining to the pricing of the Murabaha. And today is the last session on the pricing. We have discussed a little bit some of the issues related to the pricing with the context of default by the purchasing in the Murabaha. And the last 2 points are related also to the issue of default in Murabaha, but it is of course in the context of the pricing. So the first point we'd like to highlight is that the seller, when we say here the sellers in a typical situation in Islamic banking in a regulated market, normally we refer to the Islamic financial institution or to the Islamic bank. But of course, since we are talking about Murabaha seller can be any institutions, because it could be by finance company, it could be by corporation, it could be public listed company, and it could be by individual as well. But of course, when we talk about a regulated market, we mean by that the Islamic banks. But basically, it is applicable to any seller in Murabaha. So the seller here in Murabaha could be financial institution or otherwise may impose on the defaulting purchaser all actual costs incurred to recover the default payments, including but not limited to the cost of legal expenses and basically the fee which the seller has incurred in the recovery process of the outstanding payment. So because basically the defaulting purchasers has caused this kind of default, and the financial institution has incurred in this recovery of the payment some costs, the legal fee, and other additional expenses as recorded. So from Sharia standpoint, this all expenses could be imposed on the defaulted purchaser, meaning he will be liable also for this amount to be paid to the financial institution. Of course, the financial institutions has the right to waive those expenses if they want to do so, but as part as responsibility and obligations, it is the right of the financial institutions to impose such expenses. The following point is that Murabaha contract may contain a clause, meaning in the agreement, when you draft the legal agreements of Murabaha with the client, any kind of facility could be machines, commodity, and so on and so forth. So the financial institutions, when it comes to the payment of scheduled payments, so the financial institution has the right to put a clause binding the purchasers to settle all outstanding debt before the maturity date if he defaults on any installment payment. This is basically one of the clauses that has been mentioned in the Murabaha standard number 8 in IOF standards, whereby the Murabaha has a specific terms of payment, specific schedule, specific tenure, a specific amount to be paid to the financial institution on a monthly basis. But here, in case the clients, the purchaser, default in any one of the installments, so basically the financial institution has the right to call all the outstanding debt to be paid on the spot, and this one could be a clause in the Murabaha agreement, and as a result of that, the customers, the purchasers, is bound to comply with this clause and proceed with the full settlements of the outstanding debt as a result of this default of any payments. Of course, IOF standards put it a very generic that any the purchaser, if he default at any installments, so the financial institutions has the right to call the outstanding debt. But in practice, the financial institutions normally they will put like 3 times default. So you may default the first one, you may default the second one, only on the default of the third one when the process started to take off. And in practice, every financial institutions has a specific SOP on the recovery, has a specific policy on the default, what's the process, and more than that, it is captured in some legal documentation and some act within the country. This is why it could be vary from one country to other countries. Like in the HP, you have 21 days, then you have a 14 days, then you have reminders, and so on and so forth. There is specific SOP to be followed before you call the outstanding. But from Sharia standpoint, according to the IOFI and according to this statement that has been mentioned, is that it is part of the right of the financial institutions to call back the entire debt in case of any installment. But in practice, as I mentioned, it could be a specific schedule. You default number one, the reminder comes in, and second, the third. So when you fail basically to pay and you are in a default, so basically the bank will come after you for recovery of the outstanding amount. So this is the last point on the price, and as you can see, we have discussed a little bit various points with regard to the price. Some of them are directed to the price and the profit margin. Some of them, which are the last around 5 points that have been highlighted in this session, and the previous one, they are related in the price, but in the context of default and rescheduling of the Murabaha. With that, thank you very much, and we shall see you in the coming session with more discussion on Murabaha. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.